the nation's commercial capital. This is the news at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Anambra.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, Senate constitutes a 7-man committee to further collate, harmonize and distill contributions and opinions of lawmakers on the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2026. House of Representatives approves the 2026 appropriation bill for second reading, endorses 58.18 trillion naira budget targeted at economic stability, national security and increased capital spending. Progressive Governors Forum reaffirms its commitment to deepening internal democracy and inclusiveness within the APC nationwide. And President Donald Trump's board, Tom Homan, says that he is working to make in ICC the ICE operations in Minneapolis safer and more efficient.
On business, the naira strengthened sharply against the US dollar, closing at 1,396 naira 99 kobo per dollar at the official foreign exchange market, its highest level since May 2024.
On sports news tonight, Senegal coach faces 5-game ban and $100,000 fine after the chaotic scene at the AFCON final against Morocco this month.
From the nation's capital, women groups call on National Assembly to fast-track passage of special seats bill for women.
We begin tonight at the Red Chambers, where the Senate has constituted a 7-man committee to further collate, harmonize and distill contributions and opinions of lawmakers on the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2026 and present a consolidated report to the chamber next Tuesday. Now, this decision follows the consideration of the provisions of the bill for over 2 hours in the closed-door session. Led by the chairman of the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters, Senator Niyi Adegbomire, the committee has been given 3 days to tidy the work and submit its report. Our National Assembly correspondent Gloria Umezuki reports.
For the second time in a week, lawmakers returned to deliberations on the Electoral Act 2022 Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2026 after deferring the clause-by-clause consideration of the proposed legislation to Thursday.
We can then proceed to a closed session before further consideration of the report.
Locked for over 2 hours behind closed doors, lawmakers re-emerge with a resolution. The final passage again stalled.
The Senate has set up a small committee to further make contributions, galvanize, distill all the opinions of distinguished senators and present them to us for final deliberation on Tuesday.
Earlier, the Senate launched an investigation into the inefficiencies and insecurity plaguing Nigeria's railway system, following a personal explanation raised during plenary by one lawmaker.
The Nigerian railway lines between Kaduna and Abuja was laid by the then President Goodluck Jonathan. And my investigation told me when they started commuting, they were commuting 10,000 passengers in a day. The 10,000 passengers they were doing a day was reduced to about 800 to 900. When the railway started, we were spending about 1.5 hours to Kaduna. Today, last week when I went, we spent 3.5 hours. It is true that the number of trips has dropped drastically from 5 to only 1. This is simply because the bandits have damaged the truck. What about the revenues they make? At least 1.7 to 8 billion. That was the intention of this motion? Where is the money?
With no debates required, the Senate president asserts his verdict.
For something that should take 25 minutes to Kaduna, by the modern railway standard, but this one takes 3.5 hours, which means that if you are using a bicycle, you will get to Kaduna before the train. Kekena will get to Kaduna and even return to Abuja before the train gets there. We also borrowed billions and billions to Putin from China. What about the rail tracks? Why second hand? So we have a responsibility as a Senate to ask questions.
An ad hoc committee subsequently constituted to be chaired by Senator Adams Oshomole and report back in 6 weeks. Meanwhile, indications show that the Senate is preparing to commence budget defense sessions as the Senate President announced that the chairman of the Senate Committee on Appropriations will meet with chairmen of subcommittees on Friday. From the National Assembly, Gloria Umezuki, Channels Television News.
And in the Green Chamber, the House of Representatives has approved President Bola Tinubu's 2026 appropriation bill for second reading, endorsing 58.18 trillion naira budget targeted at economic stability, national security, and increased capital spending. The lawmakers ascribed the proposal tagged Budget of Consolidation, Renewed Resilience and Shared Prosperity as a critical step in Nigeria's economic reform agenda. Our correspondent Benny Ark reports.
It is the final plenary sitting of the week as members of the House convene to consider national issues, with the 2026 appropriation bill taking center stage. Presiding over plenary, the Speaker of the House, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, reads the order paper and, following its adoption, leads the House into deliberations.
Matters of urgent public importance.
During matters of urgent public importance, Honorable Khadija Abba Ibrahim, representing Damaturu Gubja Federal Constituency of Yobe State, moved a motion calling on urgent action of rising poverty and hunger, with emphasis on agricultural recovery in the Northeast.
Failure to fully reintegrate displaced farmers into existing agricultural recovery and food security initiatives will continue to entrench poverty, hunger, and dependency in the region, with negative implications for national food sufficiency, economic stability, and peace-building efforts.
Proceedings then shifted to the 2026 appropriation bill as the Speaker directed the House to move into an executive session for further deliberations. After the closed-door session, the House Leader, Honorable Julius Ihovere, opened debate on the budget, describing it as a landmark proposal presented by President Bola Tinubu on the 19th of December 2025, aimed at peace, growth, and sustainable development.
This is a budget, it's a promise, it's expectations, it's a dream of the government. And I believe that this administration is committed to ensuring that if we all work together, put ideas together, recommit to a better Nigeria, when we're able to do this, Nigeria will be a better place, not just for us, but for generations to come.
With no further contributions from lawmakers, Speaker Tajuddin Abbas puts the budget to a voice note, and the House unanimously approved its passage for second reading.
So if we are comfortable with the professorial introduction of this budget, we can go ahead and put the question. Those in support of this motion should say aye. Those against should say nay. There is of it. Thank you, Prof.
The Speaker then announced a 2-week adjournment to allow members to scrutinize the budget ahead of its final passage when the House reconvenes on February 17, 2026. With the bill now through second reading, lawmakers will use the recess period to engage stakeholders and sharpen oversight ahead of the budget's final passage next month. Benny Ark, Channels Television News.
An investigator with the Department of State Services has told the Federal High Court in Abuja that the complaints of victims against alleged terrorism negotiator Tukur Mamu corroborated with the investigation of the DSS. The sixth prosecution witness in the ongoing terrorism trial against Mr. Mamu says that many of the rescued victims of the 2022 Abuja-Kaduna-bound train attack lodged complaints in the office of the DSS. The witness, a DSS operative, disclosed this to Justice Mohammed Umar while being cross-examined by the defense counsel, Johnson Usman, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. The counsel to the DSS, David Kaswe, however, prayed the court to restrain the defense lawyer from delving into questions that might touch on the identity of the victims or the witnesses in the case, since the court had granted protection to them all. Responding, the defense counsel, Usman, told the court that none of the names he called was a witness before the court. And when asked if the 6 victims were interviewed in the presence of Mr. Mamu, the witness responded in the negative. After cross-examination, counsel to the DSS told the court prosecution's intention to close its case. Justice Usman then adjourned the matter to April the 23rd for the alleged terrorism negotiator, Mr. Mamu, to open his defense. The troops of Operation Hadinkai, in a series of coordinated dawn battles across the northeastern region of the country, have neutralized several insurgents and recovered a cache of weapons. In a statement signed by the Media Information Officer of the Headquarters Joint Task Force, Lieutenant Colonel Sani Uba, the troops carried out a separate operation at the Gano terrorist camp, further weakening insurgent strength. The statement also explains in a well-executed surprise operation at Buladalo, forces of the Joint Task Force Sector 1 launched a night dawn assault that lasted and left 12 terrorists dead. The attack forced surviving fighters to flee, while troops recovered 4 AK-47 rifles, anti-aircraft gun, a rocket-propelled grenade launcher, and another multiple grenade launcher. The statement also adds that during the raid, 6 terrorists were neutralized, their support structures destroyed, and a large stockpile of anti-craft ammunition and items were recovered. Meanwhile, troops of Sector 2 at Sabongari came under attack in the early hours of January the 29th, 2025, when ISWAP fighters launched an assault backed by multiple armed drones, but the soldiers swiftly repelled that attack, held their ground, and restored full control with reinforcement from nearby units. And right here in Lagos, a board member of Enough is Enough Nigeria, Yemi Ademolaku, says that events that led to the use of tear gas by the police during yesterday's Makoko demolition, he refused the claims of gunshots, confirming that 2 people sustained injuries and required them being hospitalized. 6 persons were arrested, but 4 of them were released, while 2 people are still in police custody.
So the protest was to the State House of Assembly, which is a body of elected representatives. Now, a few of them came out to address the crowd, and the crowd was like, look, we're on the road. You designed the House of Assembly to have a place where citizens can be addressed. There's an amphitheater in there. We want to come in so all of us can be addressed and we can be seated. They said no, that because they can't guarantee what would happen, anything can happen, destruction, so they wanted representatives. And the protesters said no, that we're all elected, we're all citizens, and we don't want to send people. So the House of Rep members got upset and walked away. I was there, tear gas in my face, tear gas in my throat. Other people had that, would cough somebody. Quite a number of people talked about their chest still paining them. At least 2 people where you can sustain injuries that require them being taken to a hospital. Then you have 2 people, well, about, I think 5 or 6 people that are arrested. 4 of them have been released. 2 of them are still in the custody of police. For a lot of people, what happened to the gentleman seemed like a gunshot wound. But I will say this, that all that I'm aware of that happened yesterday was tear gas. Now, I think for some of the journalists complained that it was shot so close to people standing that someone might have been injured by a canister that then felt like a gunshot wound.
Meanwhile, the police command in Lagos has also confirmed it charged 2 activists, Taiwo Hassan and Dele Frank, who were arrested during the protest against the demolition exercise carried out in some communities within the state, to court. The police filed a 5-count charge against the activists at the Yaba Magistrate Court in Lagos, but they pleaded not guilty to all the charges, and the magistrate granted them bail in the sum of 200,000 naira each. The arrests followed a protest by residents of Makoko, Owode Oniri, Oworonshoki, Otumara and Baba Jora communities who converged on the Keja area on Wednesday as they moved through Obafemi Awolowo Way to the Lagos Assembly Complex in Alausa to protest the ongoing demolitions by the Lagos state government. In part two, after the break, the Progressive Governors Forum reaffirmed its commitment to deepening internal democracy and inclusiveness within the All Progressives Congress nationwide. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at International Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our main stories. The Senate has constituted a 7-man committee to further collate, harmonize, and distill contributions and opinions of lawmakers on the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2026. House of Representatives approves the 2026 appropriation bill for second reading, endorses 58.18 trillion naira budget targeted at economic stability, national security, and increased capital spending. Progressive Governors Forum reaffirms its commitment to deepening internal democracy and inclusiveness within the APC nationwide. And Tom Homan says that he is working to making ICE operations in Minneapolis safer and more efficient. The governor of Anambra State, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, has continued to reiterate that markets and shops across Anambra must open every Monday and every work day in the week going forward. At an interactive session within the leadership of all markets across the state at the International Convention Center in Oka, Governor Soludo explains his efforts during the struggle for Mr. Nnamdi Kanu's release, saying that he visited him before becoming governor on May the 13th, 2022. The governor has also promised to work out adequate security measures in Anambra markets to keep the traders and their customers safe, especially on Mondays.
For at least the last 2 years, no one can say that it's not open because of insecurity. It's not true. It's not about insecurity. Because we are moving around on Monday. We're doing everything else on Monday. The food, like I said, during the Yuletide season, the book trading markets were open on Monday. Some people say it is linked to Nnamdi Kanu. Absolute nonsense. It has nothing to do with Nnamdi Kanu. And I confronted him with the fact that several criminal elements were killing innocent Igbos for going about their lawful business on Monday, enforcing the very criminal sit-at-home order. I confronted him with it, and his exact word in response was that it was an abomination for anybody to go to kill others or maim others trying to force sit-at-home. And we are becoming whatever it takes. And I will tell you a few things how we are going to do this business. We have pleaded to reason, to conduct, provided security, done everything, and so on and so forth. Now we are now prepared. And sooner or later, if this persists, we're going to take some extraordinary measures. Very extraordinary measures. Because this cannot go on. Not under my watch.
Ahead of the 2027 general elections, the Progressive Governors Forum, the PGF, is reaffirming its collective commitments to deepening internal democracy, strengthening party structures, and advancing reforms that promote transparency, accountability and inclusiveness within the All Progressives Congress across all levels of the Federation. The chairman of the forum and Governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodimma, disclosed this at the end of its high-level meeting held at the Imo State Governor's Lodge in Abuja. In a communique read by Governor Hope Uzodimma, the forum emphasized the importance of transparent and coordinated financial management in the conduct of congresses and conventions, ensuring fairness, consistency, and accountability across all states, including those without APC-governed administrations. The meeting was attended by APC governors and deputy governors from several states across the country.
The forum reaffirmed our commitment to deepening internal democracy, strengthening our party structure, and advancing the reforms that promote transparency, accountability, and inclusiveness within the party across all levels of the Federation. The Progressive Governors welcomed the comprehensive briefing by our national chairman on the ongoing national e-registration and digital membership update, which has recorded significant growth in our numbers, including increased youth participation and the integration of national identity number, NIN. The forum noted that this initiative will enhance data-driven planning, improve democratic and demographic insights, and strengthen grassroots engagement across states and communities. The forum reviewed and endorsed the proposed timetable and the institutional framework already approved by the National Executive Committee of our great party for the forthcoming World, local government, state and zonal congresses, and the National Convention.
Ondo State Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa has declared the sincere commitment of his administration to people-centered development, anchored on fiscal responsibility, institutional efficiency, and social inclusion. The governor made this declaration while addressing a world press conference at the Government House in Akure, the Ondo State capital, on the occasion of the celebration of the 50th anniversary of Ondo State. Dr. Aiyedatiwa commends the efforts of those who fought for the creation of the state, as well as past governors and leaders in the development of Ondo, despite the various challenges the state has undergone. According to him, Ondo State's spirit is defined by industry, intellect, perseverance, and remains unbroken.
Over the last 50 years, Ondo State has navigated the complex terrain of statehood with resilience and adaptability. We have witnessed significant strides in education, healthcare delivery, agricultural development, industrialization, road infrastructure, public sector reforms, and human capital development. Our tertiary institutions have produced professionals of national and global relevance. Our agrarian heritage has sustained livelihoods and food security. Our urban centers have expanded, and our rural communities remain vital contributors to economic productivity. These achievements have not occurred in a vacuum. They were recorded amid economic downturns, demographic pressures, environmental challenges, and evolving security realities. Yet, the Ondo State spirit, defined by industry, intellect, and perseverance, has remained unbroken.
The crisis rocking the African Democratic Congress, the ADC in Gombe State, is taking a new twist as another group led by Mr. Nasiru Maigoro is laying claim to being the authentic leader of the African Democratic Congress in Gombe State. The group described the reconciliation meeting that saw the signing of a peace pact for a unified ADC in Gombe State 8 days ago as mere drama. Describing the reconciliation as a scam, the chieftain of the Gombe State ADC calls on the national chairman of the party, Senator David Mark, to institute a special mechanism for genuine and long-lasting reconciliation.
This is a signing of a reconciliation document by two African Democratic Congress ADC groups in Gombe State to end all forms of division and work together as one entity, with Mr. Awal Bardi as chairman and Mr. Dalade Usman as secretary, and the former Minister of Transport, Mr. Idris Abdullahi, as the state party leader. 8 days later, another group is congregating at the ADC Gombe State Secretariat to distance itself from the reconciliation exercise, describing the process as fundamentally flawed.
That was a 419 reconciliation committee. You know, when you have a problem, it involves more than 2 or 3 parties. When you call something reconciliation, if you want to do a genuine reconciliation, you have to bring the 2 or more than 2 parties together, which was not done. We are part of the parties that are supposed to be in the reconciliation, if at all it is going to hold. But we were never invited.
I invited everybody. But they had been calling people, all my ESCO, and telling them whoever came to my meeting will be arrested by DSS. They even reported me to DSS. If you have been to the event, you will see that there were stakeholders. I'm a stakeholder, but I was only invited and asked to the event. I know nothing about it. How can I go there?
The group is also calling on the National Executive of the African Democratic Congress ADC, under the chairmanship of Senator David Mark, to wade into the lingering matter and provide lasting solutions.
I want to use this opportunity to call on the center, particularly the chairman of ADC, David Mark, to look into Gombe State and see how he is going to reconcile the members. We are not saying there's no problem. Definitely there's a problem.
As the internal wranglings of the African Democratic Congress ADC festers, it is hoped that the two groups will find a common ground in the nearest future to enable the party challenge the ruling All Progressives Congress APC in the 2027 general elections.
The news at 10 continues now as we head over to Abuja studios where Millicent Walker is standing by. Over to you, Millicent.
Many thanks, Anne. Well, we begin with the call to increase women participation in politics. Women groups are calling on the National Assembly to fast-track the passage of the Special Seats Bill for women, describing it as a critical step towards inclusive governance in Nigeria. The women who gathered at the UN House in Abuja insist that the bill will help address the long-standing gender imbalance in Nigeria's political space. Addressing the gathering, the United Nations Development Representative, Ms. Elsie Atafua, says increased representation of women in legislative and decision-making positions will not only promote equity, but improve policy outcomes across key sectors.
We are meeting at a critical inflection point in Nigeria's democratic and constitutional journey, a moment where years of advocacy, coalition building, citizen mobilization, and evidence-based engagement converge around a single question this morning: will Nigeria take a decisive step towards inclusive representation, or will structural exclusion persist yet again? The Special Seats Bill is far more than a legislative proposal. It is a development accelerator, a reform that directly strengthens the quality of leadership, the responsiveness of institutions, and the effectiveness of public policy for women, for men, and young people alike. It is a test of political will, a signal of democratic maturity and a measure of our collective commitment to equality, justice, and representative governance. The Special Seats Bill ask represents a reality which stands in contrast to our constitutional aspirations, our regional and international commitments, including under the Maputo Protocol, and the undeniable evidence that inclusive governance leads to more responsive institutions, stronger social cohesion, and better development outcomes.
Still ahead on the news at 10, the Naira strengthened sharply against the US dollar, closing at 1,396 Naira 99 kobo per dollar at the official foreign exchange market, its highest level since May 2024. That's from Business News. Please join us again. Coming to you live from Abuja studios. Now, the federal government has trained and certified over 2,000 procurement professionals as part of efforts to ensure transparency and accountability in the procurement process. Speaking during the convocation and certificate presentation ceremony held in Abuja, Vice President Kashim Shettima, represented by his Chief of Staff, urges the graduates to maintain the highest standards of practice in their various organizations. Our State House correspondent, Emperor Simon, has more.
Government officials, private sector players and development partners converge on the banquet hall of the State House Abuja for the convocation of the first batch of 2,075 graduates of the Sustainable Procurement, Environmental and Social Standards Enhancement Program by the federal government and supported by the World Bank.
SPACEY program is designed to integrate procurement, environment, and social standards professionalization within the public and private sector, while we will enhance sustainable development and value for money in public expenditure.
Anti-corruption agencies in the country estimate that at least $18 billion is lost annually to fraudulent contracts and procurement leakages in Nigeria. But this is expected to change with the efforts being made to strengthen the capacity of procurement officers.
The Senate will continue to support initiatives that promote professionalism, enforce compliance with the Public Procurement Act, and strengthen the institutional capacity of the PPP.
With today's inaugural convocation, we look forward to a future marked by stronger performance in the procurement system, greater value for money in budget implementation, and a significant reduction in procurement-related systemic challenges in Nigeria.
Vice President Kashim Shettima, who is represented by his Chief of Staff, notes the importance of the Nigeria Procurement Certification Program in restoring global confidence in Nigeria.
Above and beyond efficiency, the initiative has improved accountability and transparency. The professionalization of procurement practices reduces discretion, limits exploitation, and reduces the risk of corruption while rebuilding the trust between the government and its citizens. I want to be clear. This administration will not back down in the face of any attempt to undermine or disrupt these reforms.
Highlights of the program are presentation of certificates to the graduates and honorary certificates to President Bola Tinubu and Vice President Kashim Shettima. The Nigeria Procurement Certification Program is expected to drive the Nigeria First policy, which is to stimulate domestic industries and industrialization in Nigeria. From the banquet hall of the State House, Abuja, Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
Staying in the Federal Capital Territory, it appears some staff of the FCT administration are shunning the industrial action instituted by the Joint Union Action Committee, as some staff members of the Federal Capital Development Authority as well as the FCTA were seen going in and out of the premises. Now, this follows a communique issued on January 29, 2026 by the Joint Union instructing the FCT workers to continue the strike action barely a day after the National Industrial Court ordered the union to suspend the strike. It is unclear whether or not the strike action still stands, as all efforts to reach the Joint Union Action Committee through its president proved abortive. But our correspondent, Kumbi Abolowade, gives us more details of what happened earlier today.
Since the early hours of the day, we've been monitoring activities at the Federal Capital Territory Administration as well as the Federal Capital Development Authority. And what we've seen so far is that there is ease of movement. There's no heat whatsoever. And of course, there's high presence of security operatives. Though earlier, there was a situation at the FCDA where we saw some staff members park their cars just outside the premises. And when we approached some of the staff who didn't want to speak to us on camera, they made us understand that they were only trying to play safe as they were uncertain whether or not the strike action is taking place. However, that has long been resolved, and the staff members have now been directed to park their cars inside and go about their day. With what we've seen so far and what has played out, we can't really ascertain whether or not this strike action is taking place, and also all efforts to reach the president of the union, Riff Carter, has proved abortive. However, days leading up to this, the union accused the FCT administration of breaching agreements as well as unpaid wages. And in response, the FCT administration has said they have met a substantial part of the agreements. Well, it appears that both parties are yet to come to a consensus. But definitely we'll be on ground to monitor activities and give you more details as the event unfolds. From the FCTA administration headquarters, Kumbi Aboluade, Channels Television News.
To other stories, Nigeria Liquefied Natural Gas Limited, NLNG, has unveiled a new visual brand identities for the Nigeria Prize for Literature, the Nigeria Prize for Science, and the newly introduced Nigeria Prize for Creative Arts, signaling a new phase in the evolution of the country's flagship platforms for intellectual and creative excellence. The unveiling took place at a press conference in Lagos where NLNG's General Manager, External Relations and Sustainable Development, Sophia Horsfall, says the refreshed visual element represents a strategic repositioning of the prizes to enhance their relevance and global appeal.
Media professionals, members of the Nigeria Prize Advisory Boards and Nigeria LNG management gather as NLNG marks a significant branding milestone for its flagship intellectual platforms. The moment signals the official unveiling of new visual identities for the three components of the Nigeria Prize: the Nigeria Prize for Science and Innovation, the Nigeria Prize for Literature, and the newly introduced Nigeria Prize for Creative Arts.
A round of applause, please. I was expecting that.
The addition of the Creative Arts Prize expands the platform's scope, recognizing excellence across a wider range of artistic expression and reinforcing the role of creativity in national development. The refreshed logos represent a new phase in the evolution of one of Nigeria's most prestigious award platforms.
The new logos remain firmly rooted in the values that define these prizes. Integrity remains central. Intellectual rigor remains unchanged. National impact continues to be the true measure of success. What has evolved is an expression now more open, modern, and aligns with a future driven by creativity, innovation, and global engagement.
Each identity reflects a modern, forward-looking design crafted to enhance global relevance while preserving the heritage and credibility of the prizes.
The Nigeria Prize for Science and Innovation is now entering a new phase. This era calls for an icon that is contemporary, memorable, and bold. The new logo we see today captures that ambition with elegant precision.
While the form of the Nigeria Prize for Literature logo has changed, our values remain unwavering. Excellence is still the benchmark. Integrity is still the foundation. And impact remains the only measure that matters.
Since 2004, the Nigeria Prize for Literature and the Nigeria Prize for Science have maintained a consistent visual identity that helped build strong brand recognition. The refreshed identities build on this legacy, marking a thoughtful evolution that reinforces the prize's position as leading platforms for intellectual excellence, creative expression, and national impact.
These are the smiles of the Nigeria prizes.
And that's it from Abuja, and it's back to you.
The Tompola Foundation, in partnership with the Tantita Security Services Nigeria Limited and PEP ICT Services, have graduated 100 young Nigerians from 6-month intensive information and communication technology training program, and that's part of ongoing private sector efforts to deepening youth empowerment and human capital development across Nigeria. According to the organizers, the program aligns with Nigeria's economic diversification drive, where digital skills remain central to innovation and productivity.
Clad in graduation gowns, the beneficiaries from Delta State's 25 local government areas completed the Tantita Tompola Foundation Digital Skills Program, covering computer applications and web development, among others. Skills considered vital for today's technology-driven economy.
That's happening here, and they willingly put the effort, they put their resources, their time.
At the graduation ceremony, the Managing Director of Tantita Security Services Nigeria Limited, Engineer Keston Pondi, and CEO PEB ICT Services, Paul Brenimibo, say the initiative was conceived to prepare young Nigerians for employment, entrepreneurship, and global competitiveness.
This is not merely a reward, it is a tool to practice, a tool to work, and a tool to earn a living. By removing the barrier of access to basic ICT equipment, we are ensuring that the knowledge acquired here can be put to immediate and productive use.
We'll undergo another phase of the program. I want to urge you to be good ambassadors of this initiative, so that when people see you, when people come across you, they will be happy that you must have passed through this training and you are using it to get your daily bread, actually.
Done with the speeches, each graduate then steps up to receive a laptop and certificate of participation. Following the formal presentation of laptops, beneficiaries expressed gratitude, including the youngest participant, who is a 10-year-old girl.
It was wonderful, and I love it.
We have never seen anything like this before. This is the first time that ICT is being taught in the Niger Delta for this long period.
This ICT training is part of a broader commitment to community development, education, and youth empowerment.
Issue of employment, it's a jeopardy. So we decided to bring these youth together to equip them with this knowledge, so that either they use it for employment purposes or they use it for entrepreneurship.
Organizers say plans are underway to expand the program beyond the pilot phase, with the goal of creating a steady pipeline of digitally skilled youth equipped to secure jobs, launch businesses, and compete in the global digital economy.
Next, let's take you into the world of business. Dominic Iwiwu is standing by.
Thank you, Anne. And on business news, the Naira strengthened significantly against the US dollar, closing at 1,396 Naira 99 kobo to a dollar in the official foreign exchange market, its strongest official market level since May 2024. According to the Central Bank of Nigeria, data from the Nigerian foreign exchange market, the Naira's improved performance represents a notable gain from 1,409 Naira 50 kobo per dollar recorded on Tuesday, signaling short-term stability in Nigeria's FX market after weeks of volatility. Despite the official market gain, a significant divergence remains between official and parallel market rates. In the informal market, the Naira was trading around 1,490 Naira per dollar, widening the gap to about 96 Naira, the largest differential in nearly 2 years. Meanwhile, Nigeria generated an estimated 55.5 trillion Naira from crude oil sales in 2025, marking a rise from the 50.88 trillion Naira earned in 2024. This is according to an analyst of official production figures released by the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission and crude price data published by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Data from the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission show that the country produced approximately 530.41 million barrels of crude oil between January and December 2025, up from 408.68 million barrels the previous year. Despite stronger sales revenue, Nigeria's crude output often fell below its OPEC production quota during the year, with production deepening in several months due to operational disruptions and other sector challenges. And the domestic equities market rebounds after yesterday's decline. Willie Bong tells us more.
Welcome to the stock market report. Yes, the market saw a rebound today. Maybe it's the U.S. Fed holding interest rates that is rubbing off on the index, or maybe investors are just simply taking advantage of low prices to bargain hunts. Now, we saw the all-share index today gaining 0.2% and still at 165,000, but we're hoping that gets back to 166. Market cap still at 105 trillion naira. And let's look at sectors that performed today. How did that magic happen? We see banking index, we saw a rebound after 2 consecutive losses, 0.68%, and this is from gains in Access Holdings. So Zenith Bank gained there. We also saw First Holdco. And we saw consumer goods, Unilever gained 1 naira. International breweries also performed well there. And we also saw gains in Ondo that lifted the oil and gas index. And let's look at the gainers and losers for today. Deep Cap, no surprising, Deep Cap is there. That stock gained 94 kobo, and that lifted the price to 10 naira 43 kobo today. We also see Altri Bisco there. Altri Bisco also gained 10%, and Score Motors also gaining 9.91%. Now, let's look at the losers. Who made that list? We see HF Coal there on that list, Union Daikon and UPL. Now, with this gold prices rising and surging, especially with the weakening of the dollar, are we going to see investors at the NGX pick a rush for gold? We'll wait and see. Will Ibang signing out.
Thank you, Will. Now let's see the snapshot performance for other major equities. That's it on business news. Back to Anne for the rest of the news at 10.
And outside our shores, White House Border Caesar Tom Homan has announced a shift towards targeted immigration enforcement in Minneapolis in the United States, aiming for increased safety and efficiency in their operations. Here's Simon Pusey with more on this and other international news and around the world in 5 from our London studio.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5.
Good morning. Donald Trump's so-called border czar, Tom Homan, says he is working on making ICE operations in Minneapolis safer, more efficient and more by the book. In a news conference that was light on detail, he said he wants common sense cooperation that allows us to draw down on the number of people we have here. And while he says ICE and Border Patrol officers are working in a challenging environment, he insists on professional behaviour will be dealt with. President Trump sent Homan to the city after two protesters, Rene Good and Alex Pretty, were shot dead by federal officials in Minneapolis.
In my meetings with folks so far, and most importantly, the governor and the AG, the Mayor Fry, we didn't agree on everything. I didn't expect to agree on anything. I came here to seek solutions, and that's what we're going to do. And we've come a long way, and we got some good wins for the people of Minnesota, I think, and for the administration and for the safety and security of this city.
The European Union has added Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard to its terrorist list in response to Tehran's deadly crackdown on protesters in recent weeks. The bloc's top diplomat said EU foreign ministers took the decisive step because repression cannot go unanswered. She said ahead of the decision that the move would put the IRGC, a major military, economic and political force in Iran, on the same level as jihadist groups like Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State group.
This will put them on the same footing with Al-Qaeda, Hamas, Daesh. If you act as a terrorist, you should also be treated as a terrorist.
A passenger plane has crashed in northern Colombia, killing all 15 on board. That's according to the country's state-run airline. In a statement, it said its aircraft, a Beechcraft 1900, suffered a fatal accident but gave no further details. The wreckage has now been located in a mountainous area. The official passenger list includes lawmaker Diogenes Quintero Amaya and Carlos Salcedo, a candidate in the upcoming congressional elections. A Ukrainian soldier has described the moment a passenger train was targeted by Russian drones, killing 5 people. When a carriage on the train was hit in northeastern Ukraine, passengers threw themselves on the floor before the officer told them to get out of the carriage. He was among the passengers travelling on a route from Chop on the border of Slovakia to Bavinkov, the last stop before the front line in eastern Ukraine. At least 5 people have died after Storm Kristin tore through central and northern Portugal, causing flooding, landslides and widespread damage. The storm, which the government described as an extreme climactic event, left schools shuttered, buildings damaged and travel severely disrupted. Portugal has been hit by a succession of storms in recent days, including one over the weekend in which a man died after his car was swept away in floods. UK citizens will be able to travel visa-free to China for trips under 30 days, Keir Starmer announced during a visit to Beijing. Whiskey sold from the UK to China will have import taxes halved from 10% to 5%. Meanwhile, the pharmaceutical giant AstraZeneca, headquartered in the UK, has announced a $15 billion investment in China. After meeting earlier, the Prime Minister said the UK-China relationship was good and in a strong place. Meanwhile, Xi Jinping said there have been twists and turns, but engagement was unavoidable.
The official Guinness World Records attempt. 3, 2, 1, go.
And a personal trainer has broken a Guinness World Record after completing 19 plyometric push-ups in under 1 minute. Alex Goulding from Bedford, who is already a multiple fitness world record holder, achieved the milestone, surpassing a record previously held in the US since 2022. The push-ups are an advanced form of explosive upper body exercise. Alex used the event to raise money and awareness for mental health in his community. He hoped the challenge would bring positivity to people and encourage conversations around well-being.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.
News. Goldberg Lackabeer, the official bear of the Super Eagles, has wrapped up its AFCON 2025 campaign with a message of resilience, national pride and belief following Nigeria's Super Eagles bronze medal finish at the tournament in Morocco. Under its Our Beat, Our Gold campaign, Goldberg transformed AFCON 2025 into a shared national experience by bringing fans closer to the football action. Across Nigeria, the brand activated March June experiences with a festival of drums and lights, turning March days into cultural celebrations filled with music, drums, and communal energy. Beyond the country's border, the brand also took influences at its Nigerian various distributors to Morocco, ensuring that the green and white spirit traveled with the team to cheer them on. Nigeria finished the tournament as the most attacking side, scoring 14 goals, creating the highest number of clear chances and recording the longest winning streak of the competition with 5 consecutive victories. Goldberg says its campaign was about more than statistics or medals. According to the brand, AFCON 2025 was a celebration of football culture, the passion of the fans, the conversations, the debates, the unbreakable bond between the team and its supporters, and the collective belief that brings Nigerians together whenever the Super Eagles play. The brand has reaffirmed its long-term commitment as the official beer of the Super Eagles, standing with Nigerians wherever the game is played and standing with the Super Eagles through every high and low. The CAF Disciplinary Board has sanctioned Senegal and Morocco after the chaotic scenes at the African Cup of Nations final played earlier this month. Senegal coach has been banned for 5 CAF matches and fined $100,000, while Senegalese forward Iliman Ndiaye and Ismaila Sarr received 2 match bans. The Senegal Football Federation was fined a total of $615,000 for various offences during the final. The Royal Moroccan Football Federation was fined a total of $315,000 for VN.
Thank you very much, Chris. And the main news again. The Senate today constituted a 7-man committee to further collate, harmonize and distill contributions and opinions of lawmakers on the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2026. But that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Mwawadu. Good night and please stay safe.